here we are in the bottom right of Ohana. It's going to be the next player in for Karont3 Esports Club, LOL versus XD as the blue Zerg. And up in the top left corner, once again, it is Empire Braddock playing as the red Terran.
That's right. And an update, we mentioned Group B standings, of course, and how it could shake out with victories here. Update on Group A. We were, of course, supposed to have a Group A match tonight, but unfortunately, ATN Type forfeited to Complexity. So that puts Complexity at 1-1 in the group. They still have a match against Acer, and we'll see how they do there to try and secure themselves a spot in the next round. But unfortunately, ATN Type, as a result of the forfeit, is 0-2, and not likely that they are going to be in the Contender division next season.
That's right, and I do actually want to remind everyone, that the top 2 of each Contender division will be facing against the lower finishing teams from Premier in up and down matches to try and take their spots. So if Karont3, for example, does end up going 3-0 in their group or whatever, they will have to face one of the lower teams from Premier, and they have a chance to move into that division instead of Contender, while the Premier team will fall into Contender. The lower 2 teams, though, AT and Type, now sitting at 0-2, it runs the real risk of this, will just be dropped out of Contender completely.
That's right.
They'll rejoin the ranks of the of our so-called amateur division. Obviously, there's some kind of contention with that word amateur, but basically it just means it's the open division of IPTL where they have to play through qualifiers and things. So the teams that won the amateur division are already determined. I believe Root Gaming is one of the teams that got through amateur division. I'm not sure of the others, but we can always look that up again during the break. Either way, basically AT&T Type needs to really win and hope for some kind of playoff things to happen if they don't want to fall back into the open.
All right, so as we can see here, it's a 1-Rax Guestless Fast Expand for Braddock at the moment, and they're both playing at obnoxiously high APMs. They were both well over 300 a second ago, but it's actually Happy was commenting on that at the beginning, so I had to take a look at things. But here we have it. It's Spawning Pool coming up for LOL versus XD. He's not gassed quite yet. Doesn't mean he won't. It could come out on 17 here in a second. But if he bypasses that, we're staring down a 4-queen build, or so it appears.
Yep, and with 4 queens out, obviously he can defend pretty easily, start spreading that creep as much as he possibly can on Ohana, get it to at least that first Zalanaga tower, and give him some chance to run around faster with his own units. Spawning Pool will be done momentarily. Braddock still just getting that first command center up. Now adding on both gas, that could give us an indication of what kind of factory or starport shenanigans he's going to be getting up to.
Yeah, I mean, likely we're going to see that factory into a starport with Banshees. But then the question is, what does he do afterwards? We'll probably see a third command center. But with this much gas, if we don't see double engineering bays pretty shortly after Banshees are out, then likely we're going to see double armory into mech.
All right, and with Braddock getting that second base up, he can just kind of hang tight, or he can start making a few more Marines, venture out onto the map, maybe even try and apply some pressure. But it's not always the best idea to let a Zerg opponent do whatever they want for the beginning half of a game. I mean, we've seen Hyun obviously just take advantage of people letting him do whatever he wants.
Yep.
Hatcheries all over the place. That's actually a strat that people haven't really been using against Hyun, is just super duper in your face because we know from watching that he just loves to make drones and stuff like that so often that could actually pay off to be a little bit more aggressive. Braddock in this case not being as aggressive against LOL versus XD.
No, not at the moment. But, of course, like I was saying before, most players will save up towards those Banshees and kind of extend themselves with a few Hellions out on the map. A few players have been toying around with, though, overproducing Banshees and Hellions and delaying the rest of their tech for a while as they progress into mech, which, if their attack goes well, great, they'll have some extra Hellions around, and that'll buffer their offense that they were originally looking for anyway. If it doesn't work out all that well, then, I mean, you're pretty significantly set back in terms of tech, but we'll see if that's going to be the case. Wow. Perfect look at everything, though, by the Zergling. All
right, one lucky Ling gets a good look at everything and continues running on into the mineral line. He's going to see essentially the entire base before getting shot down there by Braddock, and the creep tumors have begun. He's going to go ahead and start spreading towards the Zalanaga tower area and back around toward that third base, which it looks like he does want to take well, right now.
Yes, he does. Pretty good drone count on both of his bases for now. There we go. A third is finally starting to get dropped down. First couple of Hellions are making their way out, and there are a decent number of Queens in defense. I mean, with the 4-Queen build, you usually cut as many Spine Crawlers as you normally get, with the express purpose of just hunting them down with Queens.
That's right, and right now the Hellions going to be taking some free shots at this third base, but there's no real danger there for LoL versus XD. No immediate threat because these little flames really don't do that much structural damage. So he's just going to continue spreading creep until a couple more Hellions arrive. Now he may need to consider trying to deal with this because 4 Hellions obviously doing double the damage. It's just it's a lot. So we'll see if the Queens actually need to respond or not.
I mean, he could sit there and let it soak up a bit of damage. He doesn't want to get too far off of creep because as soon as he does, the Hellions can cycle around and jump into the main. But as we can see, the evolution chambers are already well in place for any sort of shenanigans to kind of, force them through a little funnel here.
That's right. LoL versus XD did actually cancel a couple of creep timbers as well because he thought they might be in danger right after he placed them. So good timing there from LoL versus XD. Now we have the Hellion versus Queen sort of poke fight that we usually see. Banshee is coming up now. Cloak is not done, but it will be momentarily. So LoL versus XD, after seeing the Banshee, has already placed some Spore Crawlers at his main and his natural, but it needs to get something going for his third, or it does risk losing some health again.
He does indeed, but you may even, potentially lose a hatchery. It looks like he's trying to bait some units out so the Hellions can just run right on by. The Zerglings are already in place, and they are going to stop the gap, but of course that's the real damage dealer from Hellions is against light units, and still 5 of them are making their way in, and oh no, Hellion damage starting to be done to the drone line here. LoL versus XD, of all people, should know about the effects of Hellion damage with one of his teammates, Luciferon.
Yeah. After the Valencia games, for sure, he should know the power of these Hellions, obviously losing a lot of drones and Hellions still standing. It looks like Braddock should be happy with the amount of damage he's done here, not to mention this Banshee that's gone unchecked the whole time. Only about 200 health remaining on that hatchery, so he can actually just waltz in and kill it anytime later on if he wants. He might even just let it stand with a couple of HP.
Wow.
Might have been an option, but he just takes out the hatch, and LoL versus XD will have a chance to come rebuild eventually, but they still have Cloak. They haven't even had to use it yet.
Yeah, this is, thus far, it's been a disaster for LoL versus XD. He's lost a base, he's lost a lot of workers, he lost his Lings up at the front as well, so he still has 4 Queens to fall back on, and decent tech as we see a Spire coming up. Obviously, that means Layer's already done and 1/1 upgrades for the bio units, but let's go ahead and see here what Braddock can do now to follow this up.
And obviously, like Happy said, Zayas de Galakami na 15 Lingoff Zav 5 Sec to Skorosu. I mean, he says it all, really.
Yes, of course, yes.
So the two... Kass agrees.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
Knows, obviously. But the 2 Banshees are trying to get some damage in now. Braddock's base has basically been unattacked and has not been attacked at all yet. So these Banshees really just any amount of advantage that they can happen to eke out is going to be nice. These Lings are finally going to leave LoL versus XD's half of the map. Going to go check out Braddock's natural, but I have to imagine he's got plenty of defenses waiting. These Banshees may actually finally bite the dust, but no, if he actually gets out of there, the Queens won't be able to actually reach him between those 2 bases.
And he does. He starts sneaking around the left-hand side there. So another base on the way, as we mentioned. But look at this. Command Center number 3 and 4 already being put in place by Braddock.
All right. He's going to try and get that economy going like he had in the previous game against Mikael. And he's got, ample opportunity to do that, as these Lings are really not going to be able to do a whole lot for LoL versus XD. His tech has evolved now, though. He's got Mutalisks starting to come out of the 2 bases that he did actually have standing.
And now that there's a pretty good defensive position over here at the third base for Braddock, I'm not sure what LoL versus XD can do to assault this. He's going to try through the air here as a few Mutas are popping their way out. Unfortunately for him, there's already a lot of Marines that are sitting around. Unfortunately, Stim is not done, though, so they're going to be a bit slow to react.
I bet the word interesting means interesting. And I think build means pineapple.
Yes.
So Kass is talking about the interesting pineapple that we're seeing here.
That's right.
On Ohana. And
also another word for grenades at times, so maybe this is just talking about interesting splash damage.
That's probably what it is. Yeah. So either way, the Mutalisks are going to be doing a little bit of splash damage with their bouncing glaive worms. Not technically splash, but kind of splash. They just kind of bounce over to random targets or whatever's closer. These SCVs are coming over to repair. I'm not sure. Oh, they're trying to get the turret up. They're not going to manage to do that as more Mutas show up and kill them immediately. But with the Marine help, those turrets should be able to get up. But let's be clear. clear. Lol versus XD is playing from behind still. He's down on supply against a Terran opponent. Just got that third base up and running. The creep spread is nice, but it's still only on his half of the map. It's still continuing. Look at all these active creep tumors that he could pop and get going over there. But yeah, he could actually make this creep highway very, very quick.
Yeah, that's a little gross, actually. Mutos are swinging back around to the top right-hand corner. There is a missile turret in place, but they may be able to shoot down this refinery, which is always a nice little goal. But the Marines do react in time, just costs a little bit of medevac energy.
Yeah, and Lol versus XD is adding on Lings and Banelings. He's got an Infestation Pit coming along now, so he can actually get his tech up to a place that makes more sense for this point in the game. Braddock's still being active with his Banshees, though. This one with 9 kills. Just flies right over that Queen. Who cares? Why not? So he's going to continue on toward the main, perhaps, and try and get some damage in there. But Lol versus XD, standing army, still just a Ling, Baneling, Muta. Not a lot of great targets, as Braddock really hasn't even left his base. He's just been macroing.
And it's working out pretty well for him, as we can see. There's a lot of forces. The upgrades are good. Pretty much everything hitting on target for him. Lol versus XD getting a little bit farther forward, but it's going to be a little difficult for him to try and assault this. He may actually have an opportunity to go through the natural right now if you want to try and bust it and do some economic damage, but Braddock's now starting to move out on the map, and it's going to make that a lot more difficult.
King Joffrey has decided it is time to crush the Starks, so he's going to walk out here and try and take out some Mutalisks, try and take out some Lings and Banelings if he can, but actually there's still some red dots going around. Yeah, there's a drop. There's an an octo drop, as he's calling the beta 8 Marine drop into the main, and it looks like his main army is actually still just swinging around near the 4th base.
Good pickup.
So that he can actually establish that and try and clear out Lol versus XD's presence over here.
Lol versus XD did pick up on that medevac, though. Didn't take any damage, so I mean, he needs a lot of those small victories without taking any damage, or one big one. And I don't know if he's going to be able to get it. He's got only a meager number of Banelings. He's going to try and rush in right now, and there's a brilliant position on the low ground just underneath this ramp for those siege tanks, and they're able to deal with so many units so efficient. Look at the kill count already from those tanks. That is some absolutely stellar positioning.
It looked like there was one decent blast on the high ground there, but with the tanks taking out so many Banelings, you can see that supply difference and basically figure out for yourself that Braddock's in great position. Keeping all of those Marines alive on the low ground is actually going to allow him to just continually stim, move forward, leapfrog those siege tanks, and you can see that he is actually taking a new entrenched position. More Mutalisks overhead trying to take out the tanks, and they do have obviously really, really good DPS, but they're going to have to deal with these Marines somehow. Good splitting from Braddock already as well.
Rest of the forces swarming in now for Lol versus XD. He gets a couple pretty good hits, honestly, and he is going to be able to, at least at the moment, clean up this force and kill the medevacs there as well. There's still more forces rolling down for Braddock. No more tanks in this army, which is a little bit disconcerting, but he does have a couple of Thors to help against the anti-air.
Yep, Thors will certainly help with the Mutalisks. Ultralisk Cavern is coming for Lol versus XD, though, so it looks like he wants to do a bit of a switch, and as soon as Braddock gets eyes on that, he'll be able to switch himself. But with one scan, he's able to kill something like 67 creep tumors. So
I think so.
That'll be nice for him, and he can continue on and start assaulting these bases. The lack of tanks, you're right, could be an issue, as a lot of Lings and now 15 more Banelings actually hitting the field. If they can't soak damage and kill those Banelings as they're entering the battle, that could actually be really rough. Thors don't have that highest multiple target DPS on the ground, just really high single target DPS ground to ground.
Well, this little group of Marines still continuing to do damage and effectively denying this 4th base for a really long period of time. They're going to get cleaned up here in a second. It looks like there's a bunch of resources that were being banked for Ultralisks. There we go, a few Corruptors and 4 Ultralisks on the way. But it's still, an uphill battle for Lol versus XD. He's down 2 bases to his opponent. He's down by 13 workers. His opponent's reinforcing better, has a better infrastructure. So Lol versus XD did get a nice engagement there, but he needs about 1 or 2 more of those.
Yeah, Braddock does still have a huge standing army, still has not really lost any production or much economy throughout this whole game. Very nice placement on the Thors there, going to ward off the Mutalisks, get them out of his hair for a moment. Looks like there's a drop geared up on the right side of the map. I was wondering, because Braddock is maxed and his economy is so strong now, why his drop play has been a little bit slow, but here we go. Actually, he's going to get over here. It must have been spotted, yes it was, by the Overlord, so the medevacs aren't really going to be able to do anything. There's no fungals, though. Corruptors and Mutas are going to have to respond to this. Finally, that medevac taken out. This one is going to get cleaned up as well, but now Braddock has moved into Lol versus XD's territory in the bottom left side of the map.
That's right, and Wolf vs. XD can't afford a base or a base right now because this is going to be about all the mining that he has going on, and he has to clean up this army right now. A few workers are going down. Will he be able to take out the hatchery? No, he's just trying to pick out a couple of workers and loses a couple of forces. This Ultralist actually absorbing some shots and not within siege tank range.
That's right. And since Braddock is just waiting it out on the high ground here, he's basically going to pin Wolf vs. XD inside. If Wolf vs. XD tries to leave, like it looks like he's doing, Braddock can obviously just move in with these little batches of Marines and take out tons of drones. It looks like the Lings are chasing down and trying to rope around, try and surround. The Lings are trying to surround Braddock's units, but Braddock is just going to move in, take out a hatch, and Wolf vs. XD basically needs to kill Braddock with the units that he has here.
That's right. I really don't like a base trade right now. I mean, you mentioned it. He doesn't just have to do damage. He actually has to kill his opponent because he can't trade a base for a base right now. He can't even trade a base for 2 bases at the moment. He needs to kill Braddock, and does he have the forces to do so? I'm not sure.
With this many Ultras, it's possible. The fact is he's going to need to get in on those production facilities as quick as he can, but this also gives Braddock plenty of time to return home with the standing forces that he has, including those Thors, which do great single target DPS like we mentioned. All these production facilities from Braddock are kind of spread over multiple bases, so they'll be popping out kind of scattered, one at a time. Obviously that tank right there just popping out and getting killed. Muta's hanging out over the turrets for a little too long, but they're going to find a nice pocket of SCVs to work on. But finally Braddock's force has returned home. He's going to be able to deal with this, and really not too much was destroyed inside of Braddock's main. No,
but his opponent's down to just 32 workers. A lot of workers have been killed in this game, 75 of them, but all the Ultras are now dead. The Mutalists haven't been able to take out this base. They can't. There's missile turrets sitting there, and I mean, things are pretty bleak now for Wolf vs. XD. I don't want to count him out entirely, but I'm not sure how he's going to assault that.
Yeah, with only 66 supply, having to rebuild from here, and actually doesn't even really seem to know what to build at this point. He's building just 6 Infestors, so Fungals obviously can do great damage to that pocket of Marines, but unless he has Neural Parasite already, I don't know what he's going to be able to do about the tanks and the Thors. Lots of medevacs still overhead as well. He's just going to try to crush through here. He can take that right side base pretty quickly at this point if he wants to.
And we'll see here as he rolls through and could take out this, well, I don't even want to call it the 4th base anymore because the 3rd is still down and regenerating, but this very important mining base off to the side. The Mutalists are still camping this base, but that doesn't really matter as Braddock's still picking away at these Mutalists one by one. He still has this incredibly entrenched position off to the right as well.
That's right. Now the drones are getting picked off. There's really not a lot of threat for Braddock at the moment, so he's just going to continue marching in with this drop into the main. Not sure, the Spore Crawler must have been cleared out or something. Oh, there it is off to the right side, but plenty of room for these Marines to get dropped. All the Zerglings are rallied toward that larger force. Queen taken out. You can start taking out the Infestation Pit as it is right there next to that drop, and Braddock just, moving in. He's got not a lot to worry about at the moment.
Loses a few tanks there, but he's going to be able to pick off a lot of Infestors in return, so I mean, didn't want to lose that many tanks, but it's not the worst trade for him, especially as he's still cleaning up things here. Yeah, I mean, his opponent's down to 36 supply. There it is, GG, and Wolf vs. XD has gone down. Braddock takes his 2nd win in a row.
Yep, that's 2 now for Braddock, taking out Mickwell and Wolf vs. XD. Empire establishing a lead for the first time in the series, so very nice play from Braddock, and obviously Karont3 still has some options left with Alistor, Lucifron, Vortex, and Verdi, the newest addition to the squad, still waiting in the wings, so we'll see if they're going to mix it up again. They've already had a Terran and a Zerg. Maybe it's time for the Protoss. We'll have to see as we get set here. Oh, it is actually. Okay, so yeah. Verdi is going to be put in as the 3rd player for Karont3 Esports. That basically does leave, Lucifron and Vortex if they need them. So we'll see. Verdi last week actually 3-killed Dignitas. So, well, I say 3-killed. He got 3 kills.
Yes.
He didn't. Oh, he actually did. No, he finished off the match too, didn't he?
Because it's but that's also the past tense as well. The kills were in the past, so he 3-killed them.
Sure. I just wanted to.
I'm trying to back you up here.
I'm trying to emphasize the fact that he finished the match.
Yes.
He got 3 kills. He didn't do it by himself, but he didn't lose a game.
Yeah.
So Verdi's still coming in here with some pretty good play, and I'm excited to see what he does against Braddock, who's just playing incredibly well so far.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to run into a commercial break, and when we get back, it's going to be time for game number 4. So don't go anywhere. Karont3 Esports Club versus Empire coming right up.